beloved Sister May May. Sister May May was courageously battling a disease with the good fight of faith. The Willing Workers were a pastoral care ministry of the church that was set aside to comfort and to encourage those who felt alone in their struggle. Friday night was their visitation night. And as it was their custom, one by one, the leader of this esteemed ministry drove the church van to every apartment building and household to pick up each willing worker. By the time the whole team was in the van, the atmosphere was buzzing with energy and great excitement. They got to talking about things that were on their mind, and they just could not stop. I'm still trying to get over this Kim Kardashian person, one yelled out. What a travesty. I tell you, she just keeps on disrespecting the institution of marriage. When you say I do, you're supposed to mean it. Marriage is supposed to be for a lifetime. 72 hours? And now, have you heard she got another man? Some rap artist or somebody. And a child, let me tell you, if he keeps hanging out with her, he's going to become a gospel artist because he's going to sure enough need Jesus. Woo! Another one said, you know, you got to be careful when you walk around Newark these days because people are being held up for their iPhones. When I tell you, they sure would be disappointed if they stopped by to get my cell phone. Child, I still got a flip phone. And my flip phone flips out, got bad attitude. Some days I'll pull out my phone and it rolls its eyes and said, not today, honey. You all better go on back down to the pay phone like you've been doing since 1960 and 4. Woo, they just laughed it up. And another one said, have you been hearing what's been happening in church? What now? Oh, I'm afraid to ask. Well, this is just between me and you, okay? This is a prayer concern. Go on ahead. Everybody lean forward. Have you noticed that Deacon Williams hasn't been to church in a good month? What's up with that? Well, the word is that he's mad. Mad about what? That Negro is always mad. He's mad because the pastor didn't acknowledge him during the usher sermon service. And you know how he likes to hear his name when he's in the crowd. And when the benediction was over and he realized that no one gave him a shout out, they had to wheel old man Williams out of the church. He was so mad. You know, his ego is like a tire. And when it's deflated, he can't get around much. Woo! They laughed and laughed. Suddenly, somebody got their mind back on the mission and asked with fear, where are we? They looked around. They were puzzled. We've never been on this side of town before. Another asked, and what time does visiting hours end? The leader and the driver said, 8 o'clock. Oh no, someone shouted. We're lost. We're out in the middle of nowhere, and we have jeopardized the mission. We may not accomplish what it is that we set out to do because we've been having such a good time. Sister May May is going to be so disappointed. She was depending on us. After stopping to ask for directions several times, they finally arrived at the hospital at 7:59. The leader ran out of the car, trying to look like a church VIP, calmly walked up to the front desk and said, we are the Willing Workers from the Freedom Church, and we are here to see Sister May May. She's depending on us. We must get to her right now. It's urgent. The person at the front desk at the time said, "I'm so sorry. Visiting hours are over. And in fact, for the last half an hour, they've been making announcements that if you're still here, you need to be preparing to leave so that at 8 o'clock, you're out the building. I'm so sorry." You know, we pride ourselves in being very punctual in the hospital. Maybe you might want to try that too. Shaking their head, one willing worker after the other sighed and got back into the van. Tomorrow, they said, ain't always promised. We had today, and now we have blown it. They learned a valuable lesson that in the end, it's all about mission, and everything else is just a distraction. This is the lesson that Israel learned. Like the willing workers, God had chose Israel of all the families of the earth to be about God's mission. Like the willing workers, God had called them one by one and set them aside and consecrated and anointed them and sent them out into the world to be about mission. They were to keep the law of the Lord and follow God's decrees. They were to liberate the oppressed and to set captives free, to mend the brokenhearted and to comfort those who were mourning. They were there to care for the orphans and the widows. They were there to bring all their tithes into the storehouse and make sure there was more than enough resources to minister to those that were living on the margins. They were there to practice justice and to love mercy and to walk humbly before their God. Instead, they yielded to the distractions of false gods and they drank wine in their worship of these false gods. Instead, they trampled on the heads of the poor as one would walk upon the dust of the ground. Instead, they sold righteous for silver, and for the needy, they gave a pair of sandals. Instead, they told the prophets, "Stop all that prophesying about the mission of God because we are doing our own thing right now, and we don't have time to hear all that you've got to say." Like the willing workers, they were lost and did not even know it because they were too busy having a good time. God had delivered them out of slavery in Egypt. God had given them a land flowing with milk and with honey. God had blessed them in cities and in fields. And instead of giving God all the glory and honor and praise, they turned their back on God and to the mission. And as a result, God gave them up to the Babylonians. And there, by the waters of Babylon, they hung up their harps on willow trees and wept because they were taunted to sing the Lord's song, yet in a strange and foreign land. Here in our text, they are back from 70 years of captivity from Babylon, and we're paying the price for